about it too. And George Washington, his first command, he was in the British Army, and he was just 21 years old. His first command. He wasn't an officer, a high-ranking officer, but he was a low-ranking officer, and he had some men under him. But he had went to try to kind of bluff some French officers and men that had been sent to do the same for him. They were trying to out-bluff each other to see who could get the other to move out of the territory first. And, you know, George Washington, there were several different times that as a young man, he had no training. He was, his father died when he was really young. He was probably between the ages of 9 and 11 when his father passed away. And so he was the next oldest man in the family. His mother was a strong mother, and she helped him, raised him, and helped show him what he needed to do. But he kind of took over as the man of the family and helped her make decisions about being a farmer and growing tobacco and doing the things they needed to do. And he had to grow up hard. He worked hard. And he was very intelligent about farming and about doing things. And he wasn't lazy. He was a hard worker. And that's where he got his go power, I guess you would say. He didn't believe in being slack. Everything that he set out to do, he wanted to do his very best, you know. So he really wanted to try hard. And he didn't understand people that didn't try their best. Everything he wanted to do, he wanted it done right. And he thought, why do you even try to do it if you're not going to do it right? Don't even do it. And that was his way of thinking. So I guess being brought up that way, that's what made him kind of tempered into the man he was. So he thought that way. And I believe that God had a hand in shaping him that way. And I believe God had his hand on him. And he had him set aside for our country, to lead our country. So he met this French regiment, and he had some Indians that were helping him. And the Indians did not like, this group of Indians did not like the French that they were going to meet. So George was young. He had never been over any group of men where fighting was concerned. So this particular Indian chief kind of talked him into attacking them. Well, they were going to try to bluff the English and George into leaving. And that's what George had in mind also. But this particular Indian chief just wanted to attack the French. He wasn't planning on bluffing. He wanted to attack them. And he talked George Washington into sneaking up on them and attacking. And so the Indians, along with the Englishmen, did a surprise attack on the French. And when they did, the Indians just started annihilating them. And they killed so many of the French. And the Indians just went wild and started scalping them and everything. So George Washington was kind of in a daze. He had never been in war. He had never seen anything like it. So he was stunned. And this Indian chief just took control of everything. And George's men really wasn't participating. But all at once, George kind of came to his senses and he said, "Take these men prisoner." So they took the rest of them prisoner. But the leader of the French had already been killed. So after that happened, they won that battle with the French. But the rest of the French nation were really upset. They were mad. So George Washington knew that they would be coming for them. So they built a little fort. And it was probably an acre or maybe not that much, but it was a round fort. And they built it, and it was very small and kind of defenseless. He had never done anything like that. So the French sent more troops when they found out what happened. And they attacked that fort. And it was a rainy, messy day. And they were out to get George Washington. They wanted to make him pay for what he had done. They thought he did, but it was really the Indian chief that did it. Well, the Indian chief and those Indians left. They didn't stay at the fort. So it was just the Englishmen. So the French and other Indians that were with the French attacked George and the Englishmen. So their muskets and their powder got wet because it was pouring rain, and they were not prepared for this attack. So a lot of Englishmen got killed. There were several French that got killed, but more English. But they didn't kill George Washington. But he was right there with them, fighting and leading them. And so all at once the French waved a white flag. And they said, "We've had enough killing. We just want to parley." So they said, "I think you've learned your lesson. We don't want war. We just want to stop where we are." So they went back to France and they told that George Washington signed an agreement that he had murdered their commander when it was really the Indians that did it. And George had asked, "What am I signing here?" And they said, "You're signing a treaty that you're saying that you surrender now because the fighting's got too much." And they didn't tell him everything that was in it because a Dutchman was reading what was written in it. And the Dutchman couldn't read very well. So anyway, everything got back to France. Then it got to England. So they wanted to not give George a promotion. So George left the English army. He just said, I'm not going to take another commission as a captain. I'm just going to not be involved in it. But that was good for America, because when the English started taxing America, then the Continental Congress and everybody looked to George Washington to be the commander of the Continental Army. So everything worked together for George Washington to be the commander of our army. And really, he wasn't trying to, when he saw people dying, he always wanted to be a soldier. But after he saw that initial war and everything going on, he didn't really like war. But he wanted what was right. And he saw how England was trying to hurt the colonies and take advantage of them. And he was a Virginian. He believed in the new colonies. And he didn't believe in what England was doing to the United States. But we weren't the United States yet, but we were colonies then. And he just wanted to help protect them. So everything worked together for him to be alive and for him to learn what he needed to learn. And he was in his 20s when he took command of the Continental Army, you know. So it was amazing the things he learned in a short period of time and how he just became so great and how God grew him through the things he learned. And he was a good man, and just the things, the way God used him and what he knew. And when he became president, he really didn't want to be president. When he got through in the army and he finished fighting, he wanted to go home. He just wanted to go back to his farm. He wanted to be with his wife. He just wanted to grow crops and just live. He did not want to be president at all. But they needed somebody that everybody knew and everybody trusted. And they talked him into it. And he took it. So that's how he became president, you know, because people trusted him. And they knew that he loved his country more than anything. He loved what came to be the United States of America. And he gave his life for the United States of America. And when he finally retired, he got to go to his farm for 2 years. Only 2 years. And he was there 2 years, and he got sick with an infection. Huh? Yeah, they would bloodlet. That's all they knew. If they would have had an antibiotic, he'd have been better in a couple of days. But they didn't. They didn't have medicine like we have today. but he died right there. 2 years he got to spend at his farm. So that's the story of George Washington and how God used him and in a mighty way, and the father of our country is what he is called. And his men loved him so much because he was not above them. At Mount Vernon, he lived where they lived. He ate what they ate. I mean, he would go beg for food for them. He was just a soldier with them. He was the same. I mean, if they came and talked to him, he was stern. I mean, if they tried to quit, he'd be stern with them, and he'd say, I'm not quitting, and you're not quitting. He had to be. We wouldn't have had this. We wouldn't have had the United States. He had to be stern. But he believed in freedom. He believed in his country. That's why as Christians, we have to believe. We have to believe. Jesus didn't quit on us. You know, we can't quit on him. We have to keep going. Even like these woke things that are happening, all these things that are happening in our country, we can't quit. We got to keep going. We got to stand. We got to stand against them. It don't matter what. We've got to stand. Maybe you got something in your life you want to share. Maybe God's helped you through something.